we were talking about this earlier, and I mentioned that I bring it up later, but the most important question that I ask, because it is another huge myth that a lot of people just don't realize, is that so many people believe that, that stage look that these competitors present is sustainable. Like, it is that they're going to be able to look like that 365 days out of the year. This the general public. Like, I've had so many friends come up to me and say, like, hey, I love watching your podcast, but I was just surprised. Like, I thought these people work their butts off for, this amount of time. I thought that they were able to, keep that look, and that they could just, just keep competing just like that look. And a lot of people just don't realize that you are going to have to put on weight. I mean, you've manipulated your body through all of the working out and through all of the dieting into a look that you're not going to be able to keep. Was that a struggle for you, just figuring out, that, like, hey, I am going to have to put on weight. I am not going to be able to look this lean and shredded. And has it evolved? Has it gotten easier for you as time's gone on?
Yes, so I stepped on stage in November, and I realistically wanted to stay. When I first started my entire prep, I was like 153, 153 pounds. I stepped on stage 126.8 or 127, something like that. I don't really know. I didn't bring the scale with me to the hotel, so I lost the last 2 days of weight. So 126, 127 is where I know I sat. Um, Coming off stage, I said to myself, I don't want to be more than 145 pounds. That's what I knew. I knew I had to put on weight. I knew I wasn't going to stay that lean. Like, I knew how much work it took to get that shredded, and it's such a short amount of time. So I knew people were telling me too. They're like, you don't stay stage lean. I was like, well, I'd be dead because I can barely walk. I mean, I was fine realistically. I didn't really have any issue. I wasn't dehydrated or anything. I was fine when I got on stage, but I knew you couldn't sustain that. And I'm a figure competitor. I'm not a bikini girl, so I don't naturally sit very small and lean. And I knew I was going to get softer, and I was okay with it for about, I don't know, I'd say 2 months. Once the scale tipped past 142, my head went into the ground. I was like, no, nah. I amped up my workouts. I mean, I was still off season with my coach. Like, I never stopped training with my coach. He still gave me all my diet, all my everything I needed. He's like, you're gonna keep growing. Then the scale tipped 150. I'm like, no, freaking out. Now, when I'm saying freaking out, like, I usually generally like to train like in a t-shirt or like in spandex. I am covered head to toe. I don't even want to look in the mirror. I'm avoiding every mirror that I can. If I don't have to take progress photos, I'm not doing it. Like, I was avoiding everything. I hated how I looked, but I knew you got to eat to grow. If I want to grow my shoulders, if I want to grow the things I need to grow, I have to do this. Up until about 3 weeks ago, until we changed my diet again, I was still like, I felt like I was like extended. Like, I felt just huge. My knees started to hurt. Like, just because I was carrying, I hit like 153 and 154. And I was like, I don't think I can get bigger. Like, I just don't think I can do it. And reminder, I was about 160 3 years ago. So I'm like, how did I do this then? How was I comfortable? Now I'm just all muscle, so it hurts.
Yeah.
2 weeks have gone by. I'm down into the 140s again right now. So I'm pretty happy. But for a very short time period, I don't want to say that I hated myself, because I don't hate myself. It was more that I just didn't want to see something, because it felt like I wasn't doing anything right, even though I was doing everything right. I knew I was putting on the decent mass. I was putting on what I needed to put on. My shoulders grew, my legs grew, my hamstrings grew. Everything I needed to grow grew. I mean, my calves are still growing, and I still had abs, which is weird, because genetically, I never really thought I was inclined to have abs. But ever since my last prep, I basically kept them. Not as tight, nearly, not even close. But it was a struggle. It was like, my friends, like, I would joke, even though I wasn't really joking, and they're like, oh, like, you look amazing. I'm like, yeah, I look fat as fuck. And they're like, what? Somebody said something to me that stuck with me very hard. And this is where I started to have a lot of comfort in, like, being that big. I still look better than 98% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing something in training, and but I'm more active than 98% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Like, my friends will joke unless they're joking with me. That's the only time I'll, like, actually bring up my weight, or if I'm asked about it. Like, in the office the other day, we had to do something, and they asked me my weight, and I turned around, I was like, 150. He goes, "Stop lying to me." And I'm like, I go, "No, I weigh 150 pounds." And my coworker actually went to my show, and he happened to be standing in the room, and he goes, "Nope, she's all muscle. She's not lying." And he goes, "You hold 150 really well." And I'm thinking to myself, like, "Oh, God, please, if you saw me at 130, this would be a different story, buddy." I mentally have trained myself to not let things bother me, and mostly because I know in my head that if my cortisol levels go out of control, I'm not going to do well, and I can't. And I preach to people, you just let weight is always going to fluctuate. It's going to come off. It's going to come on. Like, you're going to put it on. You're going to take it off. Like, if you want it bad enough, it's fine. And the second time around is always easier. Muscle has memory. The body remembers. Like, I've been amping up my cardio. The body remembers. It doesn't forget all the shit that I've been doing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I
I'm okay, like,
yeah.
mentally. I think for a while I was just like, no.
Yeah.
I was just so against it, and then realizing, okay, I actually don't look bad.
Mhm. Well,
Like, I don't look nearly as
yeah.
fat as I think I do.
Yeah,